Can you give too much away for free when you're trying to sell something? Find out today. Hey y'all, I'm Kendrick Shope, creator of Authentic Selling, the #1 sales process for your business, which allows you to get more customers, make more money, and have the freedom to live the life you want to live. For tactical, practical, proven, strategic sales solutions that work for your business, ring the bell and subscribe. One of the best ways to let a customer or potential customer know what you could do for them is to give stuff away for free. That is a sales tactic that is old as time. Again, just like Beauty and the Beast. Tale as old as time. And it works. I mean, we see this everywhere. When we go buy makeup, we get free samples. When we go get ice cream, you can sample. You walk into the grocery store and there are samples. So this is absolutely a tactic that works. But in the online industry, I am asked often, how much is too much? Or, I hear my people are all freebie seekers. How much is too much? And my people are all freebie seekers. So today, let's break that down. Are your people really all freebie seekers, or are you giving too much away for free? That is the question. So here's the fact. Yes, giving a sample away, again, it's a sales tactic that works. It'll work for you. But you need to have a strategy involved in what you give away and how much you're going to give away. So a lot of life coaches, and I know that there's a method of this that works, but you got to be really careful. They'll give you an entire free session. Well, what oftentimes can happen in that free session is you lead somebody and they're crying and they're like, I've never thought about it like this way before. This is incredible. And they leave the call crying, and we've stirred up all of their mess, and then they don't hire you. So a lot of life coaches will say, I don't understand why this person didn't hire me. We had such a breakthrough free session. The person cried. They said that they got to issues that they have never gotten to before, and yet, they didn't buy from me. What is happening? My people are all freebie seekers. All right, let's just pause. So here's a great piece of bonus advice. When it's not working, rather than jumping to conclusions, let's pause. Let's take a breath. You doing it with me? No, you're not doing it with me. Pause, take a breath, and slow the situation down. And before you make your assumption that this person is a freebie seeker, ask yourself, could there be anything else going on? Well, in this case, the person cried on the call. The person stirred up all their stuff that they have been running from, that they've been masking for years. Is it any wonder they didn't hire you? Because maybe they don't want to deal with it. Now, again, I know that there is a really successful coach that teaches have an hour-long session with people. They will be so blown away that they hire you, and that can work. And if it works for you, great. But if you are finding that your sales calls are not converting, or if you are finding that you're having these incredible calls, these breakthrough calls, and then nobody buys, you need a different strategy. The other thing to consider here with how much is too much to give away for free is if you don't have parameters and boundaries and understand what the end goal is and how to do it, you are likely going to give too much away for free. So it used to be said in the online industry, I'm a dinosaur, I've been here for over a decade, that you can't give too much away for free. You just can't. Well, that's not true. If I gave all of Authentic Selling away for free, then why would anybody pay me for it? As fabulous as it is, why would anybody pay me for it? So that is an example. It's kind of like this. I know this is going to shock you, but I grew up in the South. Now, it doesn't really matter if you're a Christian, if you're not a Christian, if you read the Bible, if you don't, doesn't matter. But lots of times in churches, they'll pull out one verse of scripture and they'll do an entire sermon around it. And they'll do an entire way of living because the Bible says this. And if you don't do it this way, you are doomed. Well, let's look at it in the full context. In the full context, it can mean something totally different. And that is what has happened when people say you can't give too much away for free. That's not the full context. It's just not. Because let's face it, if I go to Baskin Robbins to get mocha chocolate, mocha ice cream, and they give me a full 2 scoops for free, why would I ever buy it? If I can just go get free stuff, right? Just doesn't work that way. So, okay, Kendrick, I got it. Like, you have given me really dramatic examples about how I can give too much away for free. Check, point made. What the frick do I do then? Well, you need to have a strategy. And that strategy is this. You can choose to give, and this doesn't matter. Wait. I know, I'm getting ready to tell you. No, I'm not. I'm getting ready to tell you. No, I'm not. This strategy can be applied to webinars. It can be applied to videos. It can be applied to opt-ins. It can be applied to anything. So this is like the church video. When I was growing up in choir, we sang a song called Deep and Wide, there's a fountain. Was it a fountain? Flowing deep and wide. My amazing videographer is like, yeah, that's what it is. Deep and wide. So you can give deep free content. You can give wide free content. Okay, I'm done. No, I'm just kidding. What does that mean? Deep and wide. So let's use authentic selling as an example. If you want to go really, really deep, let's say that I'm doing a free call on how to host a sales call that converts. And let's say that there are 10 steps to that, right? If I went deep on how to host a sales call that converts, then I would list all of the 10 steps and I would go super in depth on 2 of the steps. And then I would say, we don't really have time to do all of the 10 steps, but I'm gonna list the other 8 steps so you have a full picture. And then you have given somebody the full picture, but you haven't gone super deep. You don't necessarily tell them how to apply all that, right? You go really, really deep on some of them, and you give people a sample of what the other depth could look like in the other 8 steps. And then if they want that information from you, they need to pay for it. So that's an example of deep content. What's an example of wide content? Wide content is where you just simply list all the steps and you give a little bit about each one. So if there are 10 steps, I'm going to tell you step number 1 is thank you, and I'm going to give you an example of how you might use that. But I'm probably not going to give you the full depth of this is where you might get stuck and this is what to do if it doesn't work. I'm not going to give you the full picture. Let's shift gears for a minute and use life coaching as an example. So helping people understand that they have limiting beliefs and recognizing one limiting belief is an example of deep content. If understanding that I have limiting beliefs and giving me the tools to recognize that I have a limiting belief and this belief of I am afraid I'm going to fail or I feel like a failure is showing up in 152 places in my life, that is an example of going deep, right? I now can work that one thought. Life coaches, we all know that there are 549 million other thoughts that need to be worked. An example of wide content there would be, here are some examples of limiting beliefs you might have. Here's what a limiting belief is. It's showing up for you in your life, but you don't necessarily tell people how to identify them. You don't necessarily tell people what to do once they identify them. Again, you're going to solve a portion of the problem, either going super deep or super wide with your solution. Now, there is this belief in the industry that you give people the what and not the how. And there's also this sort of reaction to that. Like, yeah, that doesn't feel good to me. But I want you to know that awareness sells. So, for example, you're watching this video. You're watching it for free. But I'm willing to bet before this video that you probably didn't know there was such a thing as deep and wide free content. And so you have learned something today. Now, I have told you how I've gone deep into both of these. I've told you how to recognize deep content. I've told you how to recognize wide content, but we haven't really created your content. So you'd have to pay me for that. So I gave you awareness and I gave you a little bit of the how, but I didn't give you all the how because first of all, that would be impossible to do in this setup, situation, whatever this is, in this moment. And second of all, because I also want to get paid. Now, I also want to put a caveat here. If you can solve somebody's problem in 3 minutes, don't hold back. They don't need to pay you. However, be very, very careful. So in your sales calls, if you are saying, well, this is the problem and this is the way we would solve it and this is the way we would solve it and this is the way we would solve it, you are giving too much away. You're giving too much away, y'all. Because what those people are going to do is they're going to go try this way that you said to solve it. And sleep consultants, I see this a lot in the sleep consulting industry. Well, what's going on is you're putting your child down with a prop. And so what we would do is we would let them, I'm making this up, but we would remove the prop, but you never leave the room. And you are telling them all the hows. They don't need to hire you. Now, some things are too technical to where, I'm going to have to hire you anyway. For example, I have a fabulous director of these videos. I have tried to learn how to shoot them. She has tried to teach me how to shoot them. I don't want to learn. I would much rather her be here and be in her expertise. She's fabulous. And I'm not near as good at it when I have tried in the past. So, I could spend go to film school and get a degree in film as she did, but no thank you. So in that case, she could give me all the hows and all the whatevers and I still can't do it on my own. But in contrast, a lot of this stuff people will try on their own and they will try to figure it out. So, number one, can you give too much away for free? Abso-freaking-lutely. And anytime you hear you can't give too much away for free, that's half the picture. You're pulling a line, someone is pulling a line out of context and they're not giving you the full picture. Think of Baskin-Robbins. Again, I love their mocha chip ice cream. I love it. They've been out of stock in Knoxville for months. Every time we go to the mall, I say to I'm not a big sweets person, but I say to my family, can we please go get a mocha chip ice cream? And we go and they're like, we're still out of stock. And I literally want to cry. I literally want to cry. But if they gave me, a free scoop every time I went, I would never pay for it. Never. So they give me a sample. That's what you're meant to do. A sample, right? So you can give them part of the how, but don't give them the full how because then they have no reason to pay you. And you can go super deep into a couple of steps. But if it takes you longer than, 10, 15 minutes, you're probably going too deep. Or you can go wide and give them all the steps and give them a couple of best practices, but don't give them all the best practices. Now, I think it's really important to have a dose of reality here and admit to you and also make you aware of that it is going to happen where you are going to give too much away for free. I teach this and I have given too much away for free. I had a woman one time who got on a mini session with me and she wanted to learn how to write follow-up so she could sell out her program. And so instead of following my own rule and boundary and spending 15 minutes with her, I spent 30. So I doubled the time. I got an email from her a week later that said, oh my God, those follow-ups we wrote, I outsold my goal by 25%. Okay, I gave too much away for free. And that's okay, it's gonna happen. So if you're doing that and you catch yourself doing that, accept that it's gonna happen. But in general, if you find that you are having these consult calls and people don't buy from you, ask yourself, am I giving too much away for free? Have a strategic plan when you go into these calls, when you go into webinars, when you press record on the video. Am I gonna go deep or am I gonna go wide? Deep and wide. Deep again means you go really, really in depth. You sort of give the full picture on a couple of steps and you mention the other steps. Wide means you give a little bit on each of the steps. So that's the difference between deep content and wide content that is free. And remember, awareness is power. So we think that just giving people the what is a bad thing. You didn't give me the how. Oh my God, you're a terrible human. I can't ever buy from you. But I got to tell you, I didn't know I was supposed to have an opt-in. So that awareness 11 years ago moved me forward as a business owner. Simply learning that I needed to have an opt-in. I didn't know it beforehand. Now I do. My next step is to learn how to create an opt-in. You see what I'm saying here? I'm going to assume that you're saying absolutely, Kendrick. For incredible, practical, tactical, strategic, proven sales tips like this, ring the bell, ring the bell. And I believe in you, and I believe in your business.